हेलो। हाँ, वाईफाई है, लेना है।
All our distinguished guests. A very good evening to all our distinguished guests, respected faculty members, research scholars, dear students, and international participants joining us from different parts of the world. On behalf of GH Raisoni College of Engineering and Management, Jalgaon, it is my immense pleasure to welcome you to this special workshop under the banner of International Conference on Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship. This is the fifth edition of the conference that we are hosting. I'm Dr. Jyoti Jakete, conference convener, and I feel deeply honored and to moderate today's global session. So today's workshop on innovation and creativity for future goals strongly resonates with the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly quality education, that is Self-Development Goal 4, SDG 9, Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure, and SDG 17, that is Global Partnerships. International Conference on Innovation and Technology 2026 is a proud collaboration, and it is a collaborative effort between State University of New York, which is situated at Morrisville in New York, USA, Marathwada Accelerator for Growth and Incubation Council, Association of Indian Management Schools, and we are proud to say that we have received a financial support from Association of Indian Management School for hosting this conference. And this global synergy reflects our shared commitment to academic excellence, entrepreneurship, employability, and innovation-driven growth. GS Raisoni College of Engineering and Management, Jalgaon is an autonomous institution affiliated to KBC North Maharashtra University and approved by AICTE, which holds a NAC A-grade accreditation and empowered autonomy status. Under the visionary Raisoni Group, with its legacy since 1998, we continue to nurture future leaders through industry-aligned, value-based, and innovation-centric education. Our MBA department is NB accredited and aligned with NEP 2020, focus on holistic development, ethical leadership, and entrepreneur thinking. Let me set the context for this workshop. What was the idea behind hosting this workshop? So, as we know, in today's dynamic global environment, innovation is no longer a competitive advantage, it is a necessity. Creativity is not limited to design or art, it defines leadership, strategy, research, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development. This workshop aims to encourage innovative thinking, align creativity with futures strategic goals, strengthen interdisciplinary dialogue, and inspire our faculty members and students to think globally and act responsibly. It is now my honor to introduce Dr. Christopher Sir. And before I formally introduced Dr. Christopher Sir, let me give you our Fulbright connection and let me recall that a special reflection that we were proud privilege it was to host Dr. Christopher Scalzo Sir as a Fulbright specialist under the United States India Educational Foundation for nearly a month at our Jalgaon campus. And that association was not just an academic visit, it became a transformative journey for our institution. During his stay, Sir physically conducted multiple seminars, workshops, mentoring sessions, and interactive discussions with our engineering and management students on innovation, creativity, and entrepreneur thinking. Those sessions were not routine lectures, they sparked curiosity, confidence, and global exposure among students. What began as a Fulbright engagement gradually evolved into something much deeper. Sir has now become an integral part of our academic family, a mentor we can reach out to, a guide who supports our ideas, and a global friend who believes in our students and us. Many of the participants attending today's workshop are here because they have personally experienced his inspiring sessions last year and wish to reconnect, relearn, and re engage. Sir, your presence continues to motivate our campus even from miles away. For us, this collaboration is not transactional, it is transformational. Let me take this opportunity to formally introduce Dr. Christopher Scalzo, sir. Dr. Scalzo holds a doctorate in business administration, an MBA in finance, and a bachelor degree in finance and economics. He brings with him more than 3 decades of rich academic, consulting, and industry experience. He is currently serving as professor at Morrisville State College, New York, where he teaches entrepreneurship, finance, strategic planning, marketing, operations management, and business analytics across undergraduate and graduate programs. He has also served as department chair, degree coordinator for the BBA in entrepreneurship and small business management, strategic planning committee member, assessment committee member. Dr. Scalzo has been instrumental in developing entrepreneurship focused academic programs and designing experiential learning frameworks that bridge theory and real world practice. What makes Sir Profile truly global is his extensive international consulting experience. He has provided consulting and strategic advisory services in Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, Lebanon, and Honduras. His work has focused on value chain development, financial system strengthening, business model innovation, strategic planning in developing economies, entrepreneur ecosystem development. He has worked as an international volunteer consultant with global organizations like CNFA, Windrock, IESC, and VOCA. He is also recognized for his leadership as from former executive vice president of finance for United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, recipient of the United States President Volunteer Service Award, reviewer for reputed journals including the Journal of Business and Entrepreneurship, and presenter at Academy of Management and other international conferences. So we welcome you, sir, and with a big round of applause, the virtual stage is all yours. I request
Okay.
all the participants before to give a big round of applause to Dr. Christopher, sir, for taking his time out of his so busy schedule and connecting at different time zone.
Early in the morning, though, for me, this is good.
Thank you, all of you.
All
Yes. So
right.
before we go further, may I request the participants to just put on their video on so that we can have a live photo so that sir will get that energy that it's not online. He's speaking with not dummy people. So I just request if it's okay with the participants to put on their video.
Very good.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we can start. Yes.
All right. So let me share my presentation. All right. I'm going to reduce this so it's out of the way for me. All right. So first of all, let me say it's great to be with you again, even if it is in 2 different time zones. I'm glad to be interacting with everybody there in India, and I would like to return someday to do more. This is kind of a smaller presentation of what I did when I was in India, and I thought it'd be interesting to give you a chance to maybe explore some of the innovation and creativity that might come your way in research or working with companies. All right, so let me talk about and see what we're doing today. So the agenda for today is we're going to spend some time talking about idea identification. How do you find ideas? Then I want to talk about innovation versus creativity. Talk about ways to be more creative and innovative. And in fact, I'll share with you kind of one of the ways that I became more creative and innovative just recently. We're going to do some creativity exercise. We're going to do a slightly different one, which is more innovative, and then really look at maybe being innovative for each of you to think about maybe something you might want to do and maybe bounce some ideas off everybody here. All right. So let's talk about identifying ideas. So when you generate ideas, they can come from many different places. Some of it will come from interests or hobbies, something you're doing while you're not teaching, or something you're doing on the side that kind of gives you some comfort in things that you're doing outside of your work. Second part possibly comes from your work experience, your knowledge, your skills. Doing workshops is something that came out of my teaching. I've done workshops before for SCORE. I came there and did workshops. So that came out of my teaching background. The other thing it can come from is environmental scanning. You might spot some trends through, what we call pestle analysis, but you might find technology. Maybe you've got an idea on how to do something with AI, or maybe something's changed between your society or your culture. Maybe there's a chance to do something between here and in India. Maybe the demographics have changed or economics have changed. So there's a number of ways in which you can get, ideas. Some additional ones. What if you've got a product that you're familiar with or one that you're not familiar with? What if you've invented a new product that did not exist before? Very often that's how, new products get involved, because you got somebody who wants to solve a problem that is personal in their life. And so that's another possibility. Might get it from creative problem solving. Maybe you've got a problem that can't seem to be rectified right away. So maybe doing some creative problem solving turns into a business. An example I have is my son-in-law has a software company called Property Gauge, and it's a real estate management kind of software. And what it does is it aggregates a bunch of information for a firm, but allows them to see intricate metrics from their organization and allows them to make better decisions quicker, and it aggregates a lot of information. So it tells how long somebody might take to rent a place. It also allows them to see how long it takes them to fix things. So there's a whole host of things that his software does. And it, again, started as a simple spreadsheet at his father's company, and now he's got a software. It's taken probably 4 or 5 years, but again, creative problem solving for him. Brainstorming, you might get together with a group of people and brainstorm an idea. That's very possible. Focus groups, you might come up with an idea talking to other people. We might have an idea here when we're done. And the other thing is intuition, which, surprisingly enough, intuition is something that we may not be able to explain easily, because a lot of it happens in the subconscious, but your brain is working in the background, and it's based upon the knowledge and experience you have. I never discount intuition. Intuition is something that I've seen happen and work, and you may not be able to explain it, but sometimes it really does work pretty well. So intuition is another possibility. So let's talk about innovation and creativity and kind of what is kind of the difference. When we deal with innovation, we're really thinking about this as new ideas. These are things that don't exist. These are businesses that haven't existed. At one time, Facebook didn't exist. Amazon didn't exist. While the idea of retail has existed, the idea of doing retail online until Amazon came along was, to the size Amazon was something that was unique or different, where the internet was, a completely new idea. Started from a simple, humble beginning of some people who wanted to get together and research and send some files back and forth. And that simple idea has now led to what we have today, almost 50, 60 years later. So sometimes simple ideas and new ideas can create that. Innovation could also come from new ways of looking at things. Some of the best research has come from looking outside of their major expertise and looking at their own areas. So, for example, systems thinking in business has actually come out of biology. It was an area where they were talking about the web of ideas, and that's the idea of system thinking is this idea of web of interconnected decisions. If you look at possibly new methods or products that you think have value to people, customers, students alike, that could be another place to innovate. Again, new ideas. Are you fulfilling something that has not been there? And I'm pretty sure with AI, there's going to be a number of companies that are come out, new ideas on how to use AI in probably areas that I can't even dream of at this point. So there'll be a lot of that. But simply put, you're taking a new idea and turning it into something that's valuable and relevant that probably doesn't exist at the moment. So that's really a summary of innovation. Well, creativity is really part of innovation. It's an active process involved in the innovation. So think of it as a sub area of innovation. Generally, we're talking about thinking that applies to imagination. So a lot of the people that work at Disney are creative. They're imagining new things to do at Disney. Now, if they create a new ride, the basis of that ride is already there. That's not innovative, but they're being creative on how to create a new ride based on that, innovative movie or a new movie that they've done. When you're talking about creativity, you could be talking about generating ideas. Sometimes it's questions. Sometimes it's experiments with all different alternatives. Sometimes it's evaluating your own or others' ideas, their products or processes. A lot of creativity is thinking about how to change something that makes it improved or makes it better. So simply put, creativity can be the ability to see the world in a new way, to find hidden patterns, or to make connections between disparate things. I think you're going to see some of this with AI. You're going to see AI probably being used in the medical field to help doctors get a handle or understand the research that's going on, the new drugs that are coming out. They will use AI to be able to get a summary every morning about the new discoveries in medicine. So I think you're going to see that's an area. I can see people using AI in the area of finance and helping them invest money and deciding what companies are of value to people. So there's a number of areas that I think are going to be affected by the AI coming out. So when we talk about innovation comes basically, they thought about it in 4 categories. We've got what we call the big C of innovation. This is when you transform a discipline. This would be thinking about, management, for example, didn't exist in the early 1900s. It became a discipline in about 20, 30 years after that. In the 1900s, if you studied economics, you didn't study management. Management is growing into a discipline that I'm very happy that I'm part of. We're talking about groundbreaking and sometimes controversial at first. I think AI in somewhat's controversial, but I think it's going to, make inroads in a lot of different areas we didn't think of or haven't thought about. This could be like the theory of relativity, the theory of evolution. The theory of relativity, when presented by Einstein, was considered to be, people are like, well, how do you prove this? And stuff like that. Well, over time, it's been proven that his theory and his mathematics actually does work. So, the theory of relativity in the 1930s didn't exist before then. And it was presented as just this kind of interesting idea. And the math was actually worked out later. The theory of evolution is another one that, for a long time was not something that was considered important or, revolutionary. And people said, how dare you, present the theory of evolution given, religious, the Bible and things like that. And that, again, was groundbreaking at the time. Now, there's another level below this called the Pro-C category, which involves usually time, usually about 10 years. And this is the, effort to develop something done, underlies university research. This is the area where my daughter is involved. She's doing her doctorate of chemistry at the University of Buffalo. She's in her probably her final year, and she's working on how to put drugs into cells. They're also working as a side part of that to fix cystic fibrosis. And so there's an area where this is a different category of innovation. And again, most of the stuff that she's doing is groundbreaking. It's not stuff that's been done before. There's new experiments she's doing. So Pro-C is what underlies the university research. There's one called the little c, which is acting with the idea of flexibility, intelligence, and maybe novelty in the everyday kind of things. These are, changes where we had the phone that was on the wall. Well, now we have cell phones. You might consider that to be innovative at the time. It could be as simple as resolving a complex problem at work. In some ways, my son-in-law's business is resolving a complex problem in the real estate management world. It might be little c, may fall on that idea of innovative, might be kind of the category before it. And you're generally talking about what we do, which is engaging in a purposeful practice in our discipline when we get together and we share our research, or we share our case studies. Those are all in the area of kind of the little c of innovation. And the last category is what we call mini C of category of innovation. Here, this is stuff that and parents, we nurture inside of our children. This is one of the reasons that we don't know exactly where our kids are going to end up. And if somebody had told me that my middle daughter would be the one doing her doctorate in chemistry, I would have said, what are you talking about, when she was, 8, 9, 10 years old, even though she was doing Science Olympiad. And yet she went down this path, and neither my wife or I have a science background. Mine's a business and my wife is an actual teacher. She chose chemistry and doing her doctorate. So, we never say never. It is not visible sometimes to the outsiders. So it might not be something people see. And it may consist purely of ideas or connections that we as a learner create. Every time that we're doing research, we're creating newer ideas, we're creating connections to prior materials. And so this idea of, the simple research we're doing when we put new theories together is coming out of the innovation creativity, but a different size of it. It's not going to be this massive thing like the internet that changed the world, but we're changing people's knowledge. That's what the mini C really is. And we might find, again, several different ways to approach a math problem. My oldest daughter is, a math science major by default, and she's always looked at solving math in multiple different ways. She's not somebody who says, oh, that's the only way to solve a math problem. So she's, in this area of doing miniature innovation or mini innovation. So how do you be more creative? How do, you and I on a regular basis, and again, this isn't something we talk about having to do all the time, but we want to make sure that we can try to be innovative in our own way. So first of all, you want to try to be more open to growth. And most of us as professors and as researchers, we are generally open to that growth. That's part of what makes us professors. We're constantly looking for new things. We're constantly changing the way we teach. The research in and of itself is a growing opportunity. We get to learn new things because we're testing new ideas. And I got a chance when I was there in India to test whether students learned from our workshops that we did there. And that was a learning experience for you. And we presented that at last year's conference. Again, be open to new ideas. And what may seem strange to you at the beginning may not be strange tomorrow. Be willing to experiment and try new things, see things in a new way. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes we have our blinders on and we get stuck in certain ways. Hopefully, as professors and as university educators, we don't have those blinders on as often as we'd like. But on occasion, I get stuck in ruts. Sometimes I don't want to see new things. That even happens to me, even with all the years of experience of teaching. And a lot of times I'll walk in and talk to my colleagues, and they'll give me a different perspective I didn't have before. So I tend to have lots of conversations with my colleagues here. Take some risks, plan a roadmap, take some steps to get there. And sometimes smaller steps lead to larger steps. And I'll come back to this in a few minutes about taking a risk for something I haven't done before, kind of a new risk. So I'll talk about that in a second. The typical thinking outside the box. When I traveled overseas and was working with Nigeria, they had never done strategy before. For them, that was thinking outside the box. That for them was new. And so they were taking a risk by inviting me in. They had no idea that I was going to be, able to help them. But we did. We created a strategy. We did some of the work that they'd done. I think it was better. They were happier with it. And it gave them a chance to think outside the box about things that they wanted to do at their university. And they were in Nigeria. So there's lots of different ways to think outside the box. And thinking outside the box might create new solutions to problems. A lot of the stuff coming out of AI and a lot of what's being done in the world of AI for the companies that are being created, Claude, people, how they're using it, is really creating some solutions to problems that might exist or may exist in the future. At least that's how a lot of the newer entrepreneurs are thinking. Other possibilities. Be willing to experiment. The one thing I have to admire about 3M is they're not afraid to fail. They fail, great, try again. They learn from that failure. Sometimes they get great ideas. Post-it note was actually a failure when it started. The gentleman who created Post-it notes was a gentleman that was looking for packing tape glue. That's what he's actually looking for. And that's not what he got. He ended up creating this glue and actually stuck it up on a shelf because he didn't know what to do with it. It was tacky, it was sticky, but it wasn't something that would hold a cardboard box together. And he was really upset about this. And he one day had to send a note to a friend of his, kind of inter-office email or inter-office mail. And he basically took it out and he put something on the back of a piece of paper and he stuck it in the paper and wrote a note out and sent it out to his colleague in another area. His colleague's the one who came back and says, "What is this?" And he goes, "Well, it's this glue I created. I'm not sure exactly what to do with it. It doesn't do packing tape, because remember, Post-it note didn't exist up to this point." And his friend was going to say, "Can you make some of these up?" He says, "I think we got, an idea or a new product." Sure enough, that's how Post-it notes got, developed. So sometimes by failing, you get better ideas. One of the ideas, practice some freestyle writing. Just pick a topic and write about it. Maybe that will start ideas in another part of your brain that you didn't exist. Engage in right brain activities, hand-eye coordination, drawing, painting, reading, singing, go to an art or, a museum. I did this by going to a drawing class. I went down to BOCES, which is a place where you can do some small seminars. And I went and took 2 different drawing classes. And it started making me think about how to see things in a different way. It allowed me to see about maybe thinking about doing different types of workshops, which are outside of what I normally teach. I do a lot of applied teaching, but to do that with people that are in the business world is different. It takes a slightly different kind of way of doing things. They have different expectations than my students do. And a drawing class was a chance for me to kind of look at things differently. I sometimes now see the world around me differently. I see different colors that I didn't see before. And so it makes me think about what are maybe different possibilities? What are different ways of things, different ways I could do things. And it turns out the reason I did doing the workshops at BOCES is because of the teacher that was in my drawing class kind of said, you could really teach here. You'd really do a good idea. And I started thinking about it, approached them, and I'm doing a seminar workshop on innovation and creativity for entrepreneurs and business owners. And using some of this information so that we can work with them on how to improve their businesses and how to get entrepreneurs to kind of work on their business versus working in their business. So I am definitely one of these people that says, try drawing class, go try reading. And if you're somebody who did painting or drawing, maybe pick it back up. Maybe it'll spark other research or other ideas that you may have. I'm a big advocate of that. Also, surround yourself with creative people. My colleague who's next door to me, Al Muse, he's very creative. And when I've got, ideas or I've got thoughts about how I, want to improve my class, I'll walk in and talk to him. He's usually got some very good creative ideas. And he gets me to think about other ways to handle my class. Because I ended up, when I used to teach production operations the first time, I got up and I lectured and we did some spreadsheets, and that wasn't doing it. And he says, well, maybe you need a way to bring, production into your classroom. And now my students, the one thing they told me never to get rid of out of my class is my students build toy cars in the class. And we do about 9 buildings during a semester so they can watch the production process, take part in it, and they learn about the idea that most production processes are tweaked. They can see the results of how much they're building. And that was a discussion that I started thinking about. How do I change the classroom so that my students are engaged in production operations where I'm not taking them out to visit a plant, but bringing the plant or the operations inside into the classroom. So that was another, way to do that. Other options, try going analog. There was a study I read or I listened to a TED Talk, And the lady who was doing the talking was talking about being innovative. And she says sometimes the best innovation comes from looking out, staring out the window and thinking really nothing special, but you're letting your mind wander. Sometimes letting your mind wander allows you to connect disparate ideas or thoughts that you didn't think to. Sometimes doing chores, which sometimes we do them repetitively, we don't think about them, but going analog, not having our phones, not working with our phones, not working with our laptops. Sometimes that's the best medicine for us to become creative or innovative. People have suggested meditating. When you meditate, sometimes you can brainstorm better, you can think, dream. It turns out taking a bath or a shower works. It turns out that Oppenheimer, who was the gentleman who created the atomic bomb, he used to take a lot of baths and that's how he actually solved how the atomic bomb actually works. It was he didn't do it by standing in a chalkboard in a classroom. He actually did it. He would take long baths and he would sit there and he would think about this. And he just kind of let his mind wander and eventually figured out what had to have occurred. Another one that I've advocated even with my students when they've got problems and can't work them out is sleeping. Sometimes when you sleep, your mind will work on stuff, while you're sleeping, or work on it overnight. And you'll have an answer for it in the morning, or you have an answer for yourself in a couple of days. So I'm a big advocate of, sleeping on it. So I think that the idea of, the sleeping on it, I think it's worked for me. Sometimes if I got a problem and you don't know the answer, I'll just kind of put it aside. And when I'm sleeping on it, it helps me work through it. My mind will actually work through it for me. The other thing that I think I'm going to start doing is trying to keep a notebook. I think I'm going to start writing in journals and collect and preserve some ideas that I've got. But every once in a while I have some good ideas and then I forget to write them down. I want to start keeping them. Even at, I should have probably done this when I was younger. Now I'm trying to do this as I'm older. So I think keeping a notebook might help. So here's our we're going to do creativity first. I worked with the students there in India and kind of gave them the same idea and the same thoughts, or the same kind of workshop. So when we do this, we're calling this the market product imperfections. And here's what I want you to do. And we'll have a discussion about this. So your job is to recommend ways to improve one of the products shown. So the laser pointer or the slide projector, the PowerPoint presenter, remote presenter. You've got the TV controller, and of course you've got the laptop item that sits under your laptop while you can sit on the couch or in a chair, something like that. And so I want you to take some time, and again, you can share out ideas. What might you do to improve one of these products? All right, so take a few minutes, think about what you might do, and again, be glad to, share some ideas and thoughts. Oh, sorry, let me go back.
Yes, hello, all the participants. So there is an assignment for us. The question that sir has given us is to recommend ways to improve one of the products shown above.
Hold on, I'm typing in the thing.
Okay.
And we can actually type stuff right into the chat if you want to do that. That might be easier.
Instead of using a remote, we can use a mobile, and we can change the channels and do all the specifications. We do not need any hardware or any um, different product to do that.
Yeah.
Same goes for the slide changer also. We can easily change the slide with the pen or with just one click of a phone. We don't need, as the same applications are still available in the phone also.
Yeah, I agree. I think
For
that's a great idea.
for the TV remote, I feel for the TV remote, if we could have something like an Alexa or a Siri, which is attached to the TV remote, so that it can take voice commands also. Because though we have it right now, the thing that is sensing our commands, it's not very clear. Instead of that, Siri and Alexa work better. So if we can sync the two and make it a more seamless kind of a thing, I feel that would improve the product.
Very interesting. Liking this. I like the idea of the range of distance between the remote and TV could be increased, like that one.
Also, instead of just the remote buttons, it can be for deaf and dumb. Some symbols are printed on it, so that a person who is not able to see visibly, maybe visibly challenged, elderly person, can also just sense the buttons and then click the number that he wants.
Yep, that'll work. Yep. That'll definitely work. Good idea so far. I think, what if we did? I'm writing my idea in the chat. So what if we used AI to capture our preferences or with the remote so that maybe we can get better shows, or maybe shows we didn't know that we were interested in, but related to our interests, something along that lines. That's my contribution.
We actually have that. So we have that on Netflix and things like that. Because immediately when we ask for, or we have it even on internet, whenever we search for a product, or we search for a show, it starts suggesting us what could be the next thing that we could watch as per our interest. So that already exists, I feel.
The question is, could we use it on the remote for areas that may not be Netflix, but maybe free TV or stuff like that? That is kind of what I was thinking. But I didn't know. I do realize it exists in Netflix and Disney and things like that. So, but because they're an offshoot, maybe that was just a quick thought. Any other ideas? Yep, I like the idea. Only using a small remote. The one that comes with my Roku TV is very small. It doesn't do walkie-talkie though. I've seen somewhere you can talk to them. I haven't seen that, but that's an interesting idea. That's a great idea. Talk to it instead of pushing buttons. I think that's a great idea. especially for somebody like myself who comes from the time when I had to get up and change the TV stations. It's an interesting idea. I think that one definitely would work. The idea of using sensors to enable users to change channels or adjust volumes. That's definitely important for people who might have paralysis. That's a great idea for people who might have paralysis. I can definitely see that. Great idea. Here's another one for you. Just this thing up. What if the remote was integrated into our watch and basically popped up as a 3D? We don't need the remote anymore. We'll just use our watch, connect to the TV, and use that as our remote. I can actually use my cell phone for the Roku TV. Any other ideas? Ooh, okay. Laptop rest, maybe a laptop stand. I like that. Especially if you've got standing desks. People are using standing desks. That's an interesting idea.
Even that slide changer that is there, that also can have something like voice commands, because at times it becomes really difficult when we are making a presentation to find the device and things like that. If we could have something which is attached to a laptop, and it takes senses the voice commands, that would be any day more handy, like instead of carrying another device with you.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, more voice commands for that. I have not seen, even here in the US, have I seen a laser pointer or a PowerPoint presenter with voice. I've not seen that. That's an interesting idea. Oh, good stuff. I'm liking this. Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's try something a little different. All right, kind of do a little next one. So let's try some innovative work. All right. So I'm going to basically show you. All right, here's the rules. I'll show you a series of 4 images. All right. And I know this is really going to be tough as a team, but I want you to look at the images and basically think about or identify something that would be interesting, an interesting entrepreneurial venture that you think might make a difference or enhance, change, improve, something that doesn't exist at this point, as one of these images that changes one of these images. All right. And I want you to think about what type of company would you create? What's the problem or pain that you're solving? And what do you think the impact of your decision is going to be? All right. So 3 things: type of company, pain or problem that you think you're solving, the impact of your decision. All right. And we're thinking about entrepreneurial ventures, something that doesn't technically exist at this point. All right. So here are your 4 images. And they are definitely diverse. You got a wedding image in the upper left. You've got the military with a mortar delivery system in the upper right. Lower left is looks like an emergency room or hospital. And in the lower right, the airport, where people are standing in line to get their luggage submitted to the airport or to the airline, and basically getting on their flights. So 4 different images. Think about something that doesn't exist that you think would be new, different. I'll be right back in a second. I'm going to grab. So I want to get something I could write with. So think about one of these 4 options. Let's see.
So can I
Yeah, please.
attempt one?
Pick any one
Uh,
of the pictures.
yes. Regarding the airline and the baggage that you have shown the picture,
Yep.
I feel that if we have something like that, wherein we can pick up the luggages from home, get them scanned, have some kind of a scanner where you can scan them for all the prohibited items and things like that. Airline can start a subsidiary like that where they can charge for that, and they can pick up door-to-door delivery of the luggage, because luggage is a huge problem. You need to wait in long queues on the belts and during the custom clearance and things like that. So there's a lot of time that is wasted. People who are traveling for business, etc., face a lot of problem, and this is a great issue. So even the check-in time will be saved. The crowd or at the airport can be controlled in a better way. and this will become much faster. So our check-in time will also reduce. Like sometimes for the international flights, like it's for 3 hours, 4 hours, that thing will reduce, and then things will work out much better. Like customs and all can be done in case there is some issue. Then the passengers can be, frisked and taken aside, or whatever can be done with them. But the
No, I
airline
think
can start this subsidiary like this for door-to-door pickup and delivery of their luggage. So this is what I.
that's a great idea. I think, that would definitely reduce stress as well.
Yes.
So my thought is, what if we had a machine that combined both MRI and CT for faster diagnosis? If you're in the hospital.
For the soldiers too, we
Yeah.
can have a device like this, which can be attached to the satellite, which can sense the movement of the enemy. Many a times in on the borders, the soldiers are, kind of do not know that the enemy is approaching near, and there is a lot of casualties happening because of that, because they are taken unawares. So if we could have some kind of a thing, every particular government can have that this kind of a satellite launched, wherein which can trace the movement of the enemy, and give the sensors which they can carry in their pocket or something like that, which will make them alert them about the enemy movement.
Nice. I like that. I like that. I asked the question for particularly the mortar because it looks very manual. What if we use something like drone technology to help with better accuracy? Keep in mind, by the way, there were things that were, 10, 15 years, ago, were never ever thought of. The two that come to mind is I remember there was a story out a while. I'll give you a perfect example. I ran into on a flight back from Atlanta, Georgia, coming back from a conference. I ran into a gentleman that worked was part of the military, was part of the Army. And the biggest problem on a battlefield was bleeding out, soldiers that bled out. That was the biggest problem in World War II in Vietnam. It turns out, by the way, something that was invented about 20 years ago is this stuff called, I don't know what the name it is. It's basically a clotting thing. And I asked the soldier about this guy. I heard rumors. He goes, "Oh yeah." He said, "We carry these. He said, I carry two on each side of my lower pants because they have multiple pockets." He says, "And if one of my, soldiers or one of my colleagues gets shot, he says, I got this stuff. He's like, break it in half. He's like, pour it into the wound. He says, and it immediately clots the wound till I can get him to a surgeon or into the medical area. That 20 years ago didn't exist, does today. And it is probably the reason most people, at least for the American soldiers, don't die on the battlefield anymore. That was, something there. The other one that just came out, and I used to talk about my class a lot there, that, wouldn't it be nice if you could detect cancer, for example, much earlier, not using a lot of, problems. Most people find out they have cancer in a lot of cases because something's not feeling right or there's something affected. I've told you, I think I shared this with a lot of my colleagues. I had prostate cancer. I found out I had prostate cancer because my lymph nodes were affected. Well, today, and including my oncology office, has a blood test, by the way. And this was something I talked about in my classes for about 10 years. They were working on that will detect about 70 or 80% of whether you have cancer. And it will also tell you in about 70, 80% of what type of cancer you have. So that was something that was not something you could do, 15, 20 years ago. You can today because somebody sat down and created not only drawing your blood, but created the machinery to detect it because they determined that a lot of the cancers give off specific antigens. So there's a couple of different ones that have just come out recently that have made a difference. Let's see. If drone technology were to be used in war, then it could have serious. I agree. You've already seen drone technology being used in Ukraine, and it already has serious consequences. I agree. Here's a thought. I was thinking, looking at the wedding picture, what if you could use AI for the photographer, the videographer, while they were doing the pictures? AI basically is going to enhance, fix pictures, fix things, correct things, so that basically the photographer hasn't got to do it after the event, therefore saving them time, money, energy. Just another thought.
So for the wedding idea, uh, I was thinking, ki what if the bridal party can wear something like smart pins or some jewelry that has a sensor attached to it, and these sensors can automatically capture candid photos or videos from the guest or couple's perspective whenever they detect a high emotion moment, like a laugh or a hug, creating a
Oh, I
live
like
digital
that.
album. Yeah. So
That's
it's based on the
interesting.
same integrated watch, a digital album. So as you said, ki photographer doesn't has to be present everywhere all the times. So that moments can be captured by integrating a digital watch, sensors attached to it, or some ornaments that a bridal party can wear.
That's a nice idea. I like that. That's a good one.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, in weddings also we can have these robotic cameras which we see on the cricket grounds. We see a lot of robotic cameras that are moving around with zoom in and zoom out and things like that. So this concept has not been used in weddings as yet. Right now it's not being used, but a similar thing can be used in the weddings also. Like in Indian weddings we have different places where we celebrate, and different rituals that we do. So ritual wise you can assign the, put it on the robo, that the robo has to be there at this particular spot or something like that, so that human intervention is reduced, like.
I like that. I'm thinking when you were talking, I was thinking about what if you use similar kind of the items, at least in the United States, we have I don't know what to call them. They're not, well, they could be drones. They're not really drones, but they basically go through the stores and take pictures and do inventory. But what if we applied the same technology to what you were just talking about? That you have something that wanders throughout the wedding and takes pictures, as it's moving along. May have to use AI to kind of tell it what kind of pictures to take. But what if we use that? Photographer doesn't have to be everywhere, but he could capture way more, or she could capture way more. It's an interesting idea. I'm liking this. What else?
Yeah, I request all the participants to kindly mute yourself. There is voice from someone.
Any other ideas? Thoughts? All right. So let's try now the last part. So the last part I want to do is kind of have you a chance and we could talk amongst ourselves about ideas in our own personal life that deal with research, courses, improvements, and share some ideas. So here I was thinking anyone can present an idea that would be a class, a course, improvement in a class, any change in there, research project, experiment that they think would be interesting. And again, we can talk about each one, help people maybe to improve their idea. And again, anything you think is innovative, possibly a change, improve an idea, something you've been thinking about, this may be your chance to get some feedback from your colleagues that you didn't think about before. And it doesn't have to be a rapid suggestion. We got a good amount of time left. So here's one of the questions that I think, we're going to have to deal with, whether we like it or not. How are we going to use AI in the classroom? And I've been struggling with this one. I did a presentation in October, and on the team was a gentleman who was actually consulting in quality control. It's being used in business. Question is, how do we handle this in education? What if I was thinking for my business one class at one point, what if I had my students actually run a business that was not a simulation, but actually ran a business on a campus? That was something I was toying with at one point. And would that make their education experience better? And I think, Gio2 man, wasn't that one of the ideas coming out of the dairy case, if I remember correctly?
Yes, sir. How we can simulate the education in the classroom itself, the
Yeah.
industry experience itself in the classroom with the help of case study, and that case study can be created with the help of AI.
That could be one of the ideas. I think, are companies willing to bring maybe some of their products on campus and have the students run the store to get some experience?
Yes,
That
yes.
might be an idea. Yep, I agree. Definitely can convert live lecture audios into text, near real-time transcriptions. And that's one of the areas that we're going to have to deal with here because there's something called Title II. And so that's definitely something we're going to have to work on here in the United States. So I think what else could we do? Well, I would agree with that. Yeah, there's a balance. I agree. There's a balance in using, AI. And I think the issue with AI still today is it doesn't produce perfect information at this point. So you definitely, if you're going to use it, you've got to be aware that it still's got some shortcomings. Sometimes it'll produce research that it hasn't actually happened. And so you got to be careful what you're doing with it. But yeah, I agree. Anybody have something, a course or research they're working on that they'd like to get some feedback on? Ooh, like that. Yep. Yeah, it can definitely, hopefully help with interactivity. AI, yeah, AI can help students ask serious questions and get AI to answer it. I have a friend of mine using AI to help with presentations. I had a chance at one point to interview with an AI bot. That was an interesting kind of situation. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but it wasn't as smooth as I think it would be with an individual. So there's a way they're already using AI. Any thoughts or innovative, innovation or creative ideas for the classroom? Since most of us here have to teach at some point, during the semester. I use toy cars to actually do production operations. My finance course uses a real life 5-year analysis that comes out of banking. My biz ed 100 classes are using simulations to make decisions. I'm trying to innovate something in my strategy course. I'm not sure exactly yet, but I'm working on it. I think about that one. Here's a question for you. How do you get students to feel the material? They feel the material, they will tend to reside with them longer. Yep, I agree. Simulations, I like simulations in the right areas. Definitely enhances brainstorming, generate ideas, and they've got some really decent simulations out there. Agree with that.
So there is one idea wherein there are multilingual students who are going, like there are many students from India who are going to places like Germany or going to Sweden or places like that. The languages are not known to the people, students, and it takes a lot of time for them to understand. Even if they are going to US, it takes a little bit of time for them to understand the English that's spoken over there. So we do have these devices, but they are not very freely available, where you can just put that device in the ear and it translates. A translator is there. So, if the international universities can have these translators made available to the students, especially the technical students, it will be very handy for them. So, and they will understand the curriculum and the syllabus and the classes, they can understand pretty well without struggling with the language part of it. So, I think this can be brought and made readily available. Though it is there in corporate world, this is not being used in academics as of now. That's what I understand. So this can be introduced, especially in international universities.
I would agree with that. I think, we've got the technology for people with disabilities. So why couldn't we apply kind of the same idea for the students who may have language barriers, for those that want to study abroad? That's a really good idea. Yeah, the idea of, maybe the idea of customized simulations would be interesting. Haven't run into one of those yet because they're pretty much, staged, but I could see somebody at some point creating a simulation that allows you to pick the industry you want to be in and creates the dynamics. The algorithms are there. So why couldn't we have a customized simulation that, The one I use in 100 is bike manufacturing, but why does it have to be bike manufacturing? Why couldn't it be record manufacturing or car manufacturing? Those would be interesting ones to do. So yeah, I agree with that. Maybe I can make that easier. That'd be an innovative idea. I like that. I have to suggest that to one of the simulation companies. Maybe a simulation with different industries. And AI definitely could help that. Like that. Good ideas. Here's an interesting one for you. What if we had a way to make the students in India and the students in the United States run a business together? And the internet makes it possible today. So is that a possibility?
There's no sound.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I asked the question, what if students in India and US could run a business together? I'm not sure what the business would be, but we got the internet today. Is that something they could do together? Here's one for you that I was thinking of. I noticed that when I was at GH Rosani and Jelgon, that the courses tend to be skill-based in ways where ours is objective-based and more learning. Is there a way to assess skill-based classes versus knowledge classes? And do the students both learn? That was an idea that I had worked on it or thought about in the past. So a way to test this idea of skill-based classes versus knowledge-based classes. Not that we're not teaching skills or applied learning, but the approach is slightly different.
Sir, it will be good if you can throw some light on how you teach at US, because the question it's very open-ended that how we assess learning approaches between India and the US.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. When you sent me way back at the beginning when we started doing the Fulbright together, I got the impression that your courses are approached from a skills base. The students have to prove or demonstrate that they've learned the materials. Am I correct when I say that?
So it depends on how we teach in the classroom also. So
Okay.
uh,
But don't,
few
but they have
few
to demonstrate they have
programs,
skills that they learned during the class, correct?
exactly, yes, they have to demonstrate that they have skill base, but focus is mostly on the theory part.
Oh, I agree, but we approach it from a knowledge base. Did you learn the terminology and things like that? And most of the stuff that is done in the United States isn't done on a skill base. Now, I approach that in my classes in both my operations and finance class that way because I do a project that they have to demonstrate what they've learned. But I'm thinking, how do you assess the idea of skills? Because you've got employers that are looking for students who are coming out of degree programs that can actually do stuff versus the older model, which is, well, the students learn some stuff and, you've got to train them. We've got employers who are always telling us, we want students who can, hit the ground running, and so I'm thinking, how do we create, classrooms where the students can go out and demonstrate what they can do? One of the suggestions was using portfolios. That was an idea at the end. I've actually liked that one. That's been a thought. A little more difficult to implement, but the idea of this, how do you assess, this idea of demonstrating skills that seems to be more, in some ways, more natural in the sciences, and things like that, versus in business, which is a little more, doesn't, unless you create a course around that. How do you demonstrate that the students have actually learned the skills necessary for marketing, banking, things like that? It was one of those things I was thinking of when you were talking. And I like the idea of joint degrees, skill-based training, exchanging initiatives. Yeah. The one I just put in there, is there a way to get students to work with each other on a project consulting from the US and India? One of the things I've always wanted to do, and I was working on it until we changed everything here in the United States, was the ability to put US students and India students and have them go work with companies, entrepreneurial ventures in, let's say, Kenya, and maybe even work with students in Kenya to solve some problems, help people out, basically put the students in where they actually, had to solve real world problems. And you can't just, do the textbook knowledge. That's more applied learning. That was something I've been toying with for many years. And, that one takes a little money because you got to get this, you got to have money to send the students there and travel and things like that. But that was something that I was thinking of. Thought about that when I was in Kenya. Thought about that when I was in India. Is there a way to come to, again, raising the money is the issue, but bring students from the US to India and have them work with some of the local entrepreneurs solving some problems for them. Kind of like I did with the international consulting I was doing.
Probably we can also make some internships available to our students from companies in US or across the globe, wherein it is a part of their last leg of their degree that they are getting. That if we can give a 6 months of internship, we can make it available for them. That would be great because that will have an international certification also, and that will help them to move into the work life in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
what
agree.
I feel. Yeah.
Either in person or even remote would help.
Yes. So.
Mhm.
So basically, we need some university to host our students. So if that can be available, I mean, we can host US students. You can, I mean,
A
though
student
it's
exchange
very,
program,
yeah,
probably. A
yes.
student exchange program, probably. Like some of our clubs have exchange program for students, like Rotary and Lions and things like that. Youth exchange programs. We can have something like a student exchange program on those
Wow.
similar lines.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. Any other ideas or thoughts? These are good ones.
So we should have some international internship platforms. Like we have one locally in India, which is called Internshala, which is all the companies advertise their what do you call it, the requirement for their internship requirements are posted over there, and our students access that and get internships within the country. But similarly, we can
Hmm.
have an international platform where even the global companies can advertise, because it will benefit them too. Because especially in the sectors like IT, where remotely you can work and complete your internships, that will be benefiting both students as well as the industry. So I think this kind of a platform should you know somebody should come up with this.
Yeah. I like that idea. That's something we definitely could do. I'm thinking. I wrote that down as a note. I got to think about. That's one of those things I'm gonna contemplate that. Hmm.
So we can also think of having a virtual student exchange, like without just to connect students for a semester-long projects without requiring them to travel.
Yeah.
So we have to find out suitable mentors from foreign universities, and if we can connect them, so I mean, like professor from US, like you can guide our students for some projects. This
Yeah.
can be done. Yeah.
That's an idea. We have to think what the projects would be, but that's an interesting idea. And maybe not just SUNY Morrisville, but are there other SUNY campuses or other, university and colleges in the United States that might be thinking of doing this?
Yes.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. So we're probably near the end. And I'm thinking that I wanted to give you a chance. And in the chat is a short kind of feedback form for the event that we'd like to have you fill out. And I thank you. Have any questions, but I want to make sure I've given a QR code here for this. that you can use to fill out. It's got like 4 questions on it, and it also requires you to put your name and your email so that they can send you the certificate to you. So if you can fill that out, and again, I'm open to any ideas on future workshops, future ideas, so that maybe next year we can even make this larger idea or larger portion of the conference. Are there other topics you'd like to talk about? Are there ways to improve this first workshop that I did? Is there ways I can make it better, more interactive? I'll take any suggestions you have at this idea. So, please give us some feedback. I'd like to do more of these if we could, and definitely try to maybe expand this for the conference next year. So, please use QR code, fill this out, and give us some feedback. I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes to do that. You'll need it to get your certificate. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Sir, if you
And if
can
you have any
share
questions,
the
I'll answer them.
link also in the chat box.
Correct.
Yeah.
I put that as the first one in there.
Okay. Yeah, just me check with the participants. I hope everyone has got the link. Uh, for the
Link
feedback
isn't
form.
there, ma'am.
It's there, and sir, can you just paste it again?
Yes. In a second, I will do that for you. Let's see here. No, let me copy it. Well, all right, hold on. Yeah. All right, hold on. I will do that. See, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I'll put this back up in a second.
I
gotta
can
get
see
to-
the link, but I'm not able to paste it again.
All right, will do. Hold on, I'm going to get it for you. And let's see. That's what I was just going to do. I had to get back out to get it.
Okay.
All right. There it is. Should work. And I'll put up the QR code. Everybody wants it.
So, as the participants are filling out the feedback form, I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Christopher sir for very insightful workshop on innovation. Sir, the core of the segment, the collaborative exercises that you have given to the participants have made them reimagining and improving everyday products. The challenge that you have given by presenting a wireless presenter, a TV remote control, and a laptop cooling pad. So the innovation phase was in full swing, and the participants were suggesting high-tech upgrades for this traditional device. I can see suggestions coming from faculty members like Pratiksha Jain suggested that we can move away from physical buttons entirely by using sensors that can detect finger wiggles, hand swipes, or palm motions. I can see Sarang Pawar, a student, coming with a idea that we can focus on the laptop rest, suggesting it can be redesigned as a laptop stand. and also the themes that were observed, like again, you have given us a different scene where a wedding celebration was shown, a military setting involving a mortar delivery system, and a medical hospital environment, and a busy airport terminal. So these four situations were given, and we were asked like what we can be, what how we can integrate AI and we can improve the experience. So I think all the participants were enjoying and giving their insights into it. Also, the way the students are evaluated in US and India, that is basically Indian system, sir, is characterized as a teacher-centered and knowledge-based, with a focus on memorization and discipline, and it creates a strong fundamentals in core subjects like science, technology, engineering, and management. Whereas what I have I mean, from my experience, that US system is basically a student-centric and skill-based, emphasizing creativity, practical application, and critical thinking. Basically, in India, the assessment style is we have an exam centric with very high stake end of year assessment determining academic success. Whereas in US, we have a, I think we have there, you have a continuous assessment where a final grade is built from daily participation, quizzes, group projects, right? What I have understood that the reforms at National Education Policy 2022 in India is actively moving the system toward the by promoting experiential learning, and thereby we have started learning simulation. We have started taking simulation case-based teaching into our own classrooms, and this is one of the learning that we have learned from you when you were there in India. So I think this sessions has created a lot of insights again into those participants who have attended this session for the first time. It might be a different task for you to understand this, but since we were already, uh, you know, have understood, I mean, accent was not a problem for us because we have been to Sir. So I think we can make it more interesting next time if more suggestions are coming. So thank you, sir,
Okay.
once again, and I expect all the participants to please put on the videos if you can, so that we can just have a quick photograph and we can again connect with the sir as and when required.
I'll stop sharing so we can do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Uh, Vishal, sir, can we have a group photo? Yes.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to do that one. I can't do that one, Frank.
Okay, we'll do it. Yes, yes. Fine. So
I can give
thank
her
you
his
once
picture
again.
in,
I
but
can see, I take this, it was really all the participants, those who have joined. Sir, actually today was very busy schedule for all of us. Morning we had an inauguration session, and immediately after coming home we started because you
Yeah.
6:30 we were here.
okay.
Yes, sir. So we'll leave now. Yes, Mukesh sir, is
Okay.
there any thing that you can want to capture or photographs, or is it
No,
okay?
ma'am.
Okay. So thank you, sir. We'll connect with any participants who would like to give feedback or would like to say. So the virtual platform is open to you and you can ask
Right.
any questions to sir.
Yes.
If no more questions, then we can leave the and
Yep.
we can yeah. Okay, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so participants may leave the meeting, and tomorrow we will be starting sharp at 10 o'clock. All the participants for their paper presentation schedule.
And you need me
Thank you
there
all
for that
once
one?
again. Yes?
You want me there for that one?
No, sir, it will be a very different time zone for you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just checking.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll talk after the conference about our book and stuff like that. Okay.
Yes, yes, we'll do that
All
after the
right.
conference.
Perfect. Thank you. And
Thank
anything,
you,
call
sir.
me or send me WhatsApp. All right.